So I've got this artwork I need to do, but the trouble is I don't want to do it. So it's hard enough just when you have a blank canvas, a blank piece of paper, and you're trying to figure out what should I draw? Because the trouble is normally when you're starting, there's so many things you could create. And when you just have no starting point, or you could potentially have a billion starting points, it's easy to just get overwhelmed and not want to do it. And I suffer from that as much as the next person, probably more than the next person. It's a constant issue trying to think, well, what could I do when I could literally create anything? And when you've got a lot of ideas of things you could potentially create, even if you narrow it down to like your top 100 best ideas, it's hard to know, well, out of those, where should you start? It's a little bit worrying as well, particularly when you're sort of halfway through an image and you're sort of thinking, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like at that point, do you give up or do you not? The trouble is, this is a sort of semi-professional image that I'm working on at the moment. The idea is to actually turn it into a product that's going to be available commercially, and therefore I can't just abandon it and stop. I think I basically just wanted to highlight the point that sometimes working on stuff is difficult at the best of times, and even when you're halfway through, it can be quite difficult to persevere if you're just not in the mood to do it. But regardless, I'm going to try and persevere anyway and see how I get on. So basically, I think the thing to do when I'm in this mood where I just don't want to do the job at hand is just to try and find the smallest possible part of the image and then just think, right, let's just try to finish that. So I've got this circular orb thing here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of rendering. I mean, I'm most of the way through this, so I've drawn the sketch, I've created the line art and laid the flat tones, and now I just need to give it a little bit more gloss, polish and render, just to really make it look the part. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, but I'm just trying to take each bit at a time. And I think sometimes, like, if you're just not in a good mood, you've got other things going on in your life, it's just difficult to then sit down and think, oh, I now have to create something, and I've got other things weighing on my mind, or you just don't have motivation. Perhaps you haven't cultivated the discipline, and it's just really a struggle to do it. Basically, the idea with this is to create a kind of what looks like a power source, or like a magical gemstone that's powering the robot sort of energy source. So I kind of want to keep it quite bright, make it the center of attention, and whereas the rest of the robot is just kind of going to be just sort of browny, sort of steampunky kind of colours. But since this is its life force, I want to make sure that this colour in particular has more pop, and then the smoke coming out of its vents and stuff will sort of give off that kind of bluey green hue. A few shines in there just to give it a bit of a reflective kind of surface. And that will probably do. I might just isolate it and increase the brightness and contrast just a notch. I think basically it's a style thing for me. I just kind of like the look of colours that are just high contrast, sort of shiny, glossy, stuff like that. So happy enough with that. Now the eyes, I kind of want the eyes to just be white. I don't know whether I want to have any shading on them. Maybe I will. Let's just try it. So I'm just going to grey those out because it's easier to start dark and work up. I'm just going to put a little bit of light in there. Do I like that? Again, I might just tweak contrast. The thing is, sometimes I just don't know what's going to look right until I start fiddling around with the controls, and I'm like, yeah, okay, well, we have some contrast now, so that will do. I mean, I'm thinking, do I give it a bit of a colour? Whoops, I'm going to colorise the whole thing. Thinking I might just change the colour a little bit. I have that same sort of greeny blue. I'm not convinced. Maybe. Okay, let's leave it at that. So that's what I do. Just find the little bits that I can just quickly add some shading to, and then from there I'm like, right, okay, I feel a little sort of dopamine hit, a little bit of motivation from the fact that I can see there's a small part of the image that's finished. So it's like, right, okay, we've made a start, some of it's finished, and I'm just going to keep repeating the process to get through the whole thing. Trouble is with this one, it's a lot of brown big areas of brown. There's not, and I like to sort of do each colour as I go, but really there's no way of avoiding it. So this part I'm just going to have to crack on with, start adding more rendering to, and hopefully it will look good once all's said and done. If you'd be interested in seeing me do more sort of walk and talk throughs of artworks, let me know. And in the meantime, let me know also if you've got any of your own sort of tips and advice on how you deal with just the stress of not knowing what to draw and how to get motivation and all that kind of stuff. And it's always useful just to know what other people are doing to deal with that kind of issue. So until next time, see you then.